What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, which means Ego, Boxing Ego, Monday Mail Days. Let's go. And I got a ton of questions, a lot of great questions. And another way, some people were asking how you get your questions answered. The more that other people thumb up your question, the also more likely that I will select that, because I see there's an interest in more than one person. So whether you thumb up your own shit or whatever you guys do, those questions also get picked. Like if I see a thumb up by it or two or more or whatever, those are easy to pick. And then other ones I just kind of randomly pick based on reading. So if I didn't answer it this week, check next week. And I don't have time to waste because I don't want this video to go too long. So let's get into it. All right, first question is from My Ninja. Ego, do you think Jennings deserved the opportunity to fight Klitschko? If he loses, who do you think has the best chance to beat Wladimir? Great question. And I can't say Jennings doesn't deserve it, because the heavyweight division in recent memory has been pretty lackluster. And Jennings, he's a top 10 guy. So I would say yes, he deserves it. I'm not going to say he deserves it more than, I'm not really comparing anyone. There are other guys like Deontay Wilder, who just had a good performance against Stavern, beat him decisively in my opinion, and got the belt. So that's maybe a bigger fight, but the negotiations for Klitschko Jennings were already in the works, and we just had Stavern versus Wilder in January. So logically, Klitschko has to move on with his. He can't just sit around and wait for fight A to happen to determine. So I think Klitschko versus Jennings is a good fight. And again, you look at other Klitschko opponents in recent memory, Alex Lepai and Povetkin. There's a couple guys. I mean, to me, they didn't really do anything substantially more than Jennings has done in the pro circuit. So yeah, why not? Like Lepai, what has he done over what Jennings has done resume wise or whatever? So yeah, give him a shot. I would still favor Klitschko to beat Jennings though, but that's my answer. And then the second part of your question, I would give like a guy like Deontay Wilder, maybe Anthony Joshua if he keeps continuing to look how he's looking. For Wilder, we need to see, I mean, he can crack. He showed you more of his boxing ability in his last fight with Stavern. And I think Klitschko, that'll be a different puzzle for him, because you're facing another guy who can punch and another guy who's about your size versus a 6'1", 6-foot dude, or a small, compact, short guy who can't get in the inside. So I would say a guy like that. Anthony Joshua, he just seems like a tank, a powerhouse. If he keeps developing later down the line, maybe something like that. Next question comes from Ray. So many viable matchups at 122 and 26, but none being made. Do you think guys are ducking or playing it safe? I can't really say anyone's ducking. The only one where you can make a case for it would be Leo Santa Cruz, and that's because he's been called out by Yermo Rigondeaux, and it doesn't seem like he has a genuine interest. And then his actions, like him and Al Heyman, and then Al Heyman being bought out by Oscar De La Hoya, or buying Oscar De La Hoya out and kind of jumping ship, it just leaves a sour taste in people's mouth. And we know Rigondeaux wants to fight and has called him out, but we don't really get a stern, firm, in my opinion, call out from Leo Santa Cruz. But them other guys, I can't really say they're ducking per se at the moment, because there's a lot of good fights you can make in those divisions. However, I don't think it's a matter of ducking. They just haven't been made for whatever reason. But Nicholas Walters was supposed to fight, then the Terrence Crawford card fell apart. The fights like a Lomachenko, another good fighter. He's just coming off, I think he hurt his hand in Macau, China. And then, you know what I mean, Rigondeaux's trying to stay busy. So I can't say these guys are ducking or playing it safe. They're trying to make Gary Russell Jr. versus Johnny Gonzalez. That's a good fight. That winner can go on to fight one of those bigger names. So I think these fights will happen. It's just a matter of in due time. I can't say that these people are ducking at the moment, other than, like I said, a Leo Santa Cruz. Next question. I know you get endless Floyd and Manny questions. This is from Ryan, by the way. But what do you think about fake bullshit casual fans that don't want this fight? It just seems to me that certain fans, Pactards and Flomos, would rather not have this fight made just so they can continue to fight each other on who's to blame. And why does Bob Arum and Team Manny seem to always get a path when they've been caught lying over the 6 to 7 years about this fight? That's a good question. I feel the same way it sounds like you feel. And you just got extremists. Anytime in boxing, if you look at really any sport, the people at the top are always going to have the most extremist fans. Whether it's love or hate, it's going to be the most extreme fans on the planet. Manny Pacquiao, Mayweather, they're considered this generation's best. They're at the top of their game. They've looked good in recent performances and things like that. So that's what you get. It kind of comes with the territory. It's just like being on the top. If you're LeBron James in basketball and people say you're the greatest and compared to Jordan, then you're going to have people that aren't okay with that, that don't like it, that hate on you. And then you also have people that love you. So that's why I think the Team Manny gets a pass, quote unquote, is because you have those extremist fans who they're willing to buy anything a fighter says or that fighter's side says based on their love or infatuation or whatever with that particular fighter. But me, I try to play it from an objective, neutral perspective. And I told you guys several times on my channel, Pacquiao's done shit to fuck this fight up. Don't get it twisted. And his side, and so has Mayweather. I think it's at this point, they both have done stuff. Now, your first question, I mean, I don't really, if you're a diehard boxing fan, I don't really know who doesn't want to see the fight. And I know some people have put that, but a lot of people are just full of shit in general. Let's be real. And they're full of shit. They talk all shit. I'm not watching it. I'm gonna stream it, and they'll be the first ones to buy it. So a lot of people, the internet, that's the thing with it. There's no identity behind it. You can say whatever you want, and the fans and the people who read your comments, we don't have a real way to confirm or deny. Like, I could be like, I'm not buying this fight, but if this fight was made tomorrow and it came down to it, I would buy it. You know what I'm saying? So there's no accountability with the internet. So a lot of people that say they're not going to buy the fight or they're not going to watch it, they're full of shit. A lot of them. I'm not saying everybody. I can't speak for everyone, but I know for a fact a lot of people. Because same thing with Danny Garcia versus Rod Salka. A lot of people talk shit about that fight. Oh, this is some bullshit. I hate Danny Garcia. I ain't supporting this. And then I did a post-fight video talking about it because I watched it. I told you I was going to watch it. I didn't like the fight, but I was going to watch it. And some of the people that said they weren't going to watch this shit were commenting about shit that happened in the fight. So realistically, I think a lot of the fans are just hype and they talk shit. Maybe there's some people out there that don't want to watch it because of all the circus and the charades. I don't really know. But as a boxing fan, if we are going to get it, I can agree with not wanting to go through the rigmarole and the drama, the ups and downs of just make the fight or don't make the fight kind of attitude. But I think a majority of the real boxing fans who really love the sport, I mean, if you think about it, we got people that watch, like myself, ESPN cards with no stars, no big names, no big production value, right? So the fans like that are going to watch it, because if you're going to watch an ESPN card with no marquee names, you know what I mean? There's no pizzazz to it. And I'm not trying to clown ESPN. I'm just saying it's a low. I mean, it doesn't match the production of a big pay-per-view event. But I'm saying if you're going to watch those fight cards with lower totem pole boxers, but you're not going to watch the mega fight of the century, like, it doesn't make sense. So that's my answer. Next question comes from the Diesel. Ego, when is it time for a boxer to hang up the gloves for good? What signs do you look for? Good question. I look for basically when that fighter no longer exhibits the characteristics and the traits and the style that they once had, then that's when it's time to hang it up. Like, for example, if you were known for being able to take a punch and then all of a sudden you can't take a punch for shit, time to hang it up. Or when fighters just, they don't look the same. You know what I mean? They just look like Juanma Lopez. He fought Mikey Garcia and I thought he looked awful. Now, I picked Mikey Garcia to beat him, but still, like, he looked worse than I imagined. I thought he could at least give Mikey Garcia, who at that time wasn't the most experienced guy with the big names, and he just looked like dog shit to me. So when a guy like that, who's known for heart and being a warrior, he just looks like he has no balance, he can't hold a shot, it looks like a shell of his former self. To me, that's when it's time to hang it up. When you can't, like, Roy Jones, one of my favorites of all time, it just didn't look like he took a punch the same. The athleticism didn't look quite the same as in his prime. So to me, those are telltale signs when a fighter, their style no longer looks like their style. Chavez Sr., when he fought Costa Tszyu, it just didn't look like the Chavez Sr. that have given other people a run for their money. Even Chavez, you could argue Chavez Jr. when he fought Oscar De La Hoya, it just didn't look like the same Chavez Senior. I don't know if I just said Junior, but it didn't look like the same Chavez Senior that had fought guys like Meldrick Taylor and Sweet Pea. So to me, those are things I look for when they just look like a shell of their former self, and things that they did good, they're no longer doing good. Next question is from Jose. Victor Ortiz versus Brandon Rios. What do you think about that fight? Bad blood? Do you think it would be like De La Hoya versus Vargas? Not necessarily De La Hoya Vargas. I think it would be like that in terms of kind of growing up in the same area and having bad blood really outside of the ring instead of just in the ring type of trash talk. So in that regard, it'd be the same, but I would rate those guys' skill level different than Ortiz versus Brandon Rios. That being said, I really want to see this fight, and I've had wanted to see it. When they first talked about this fight years ago, I was like, impossible. I thought Victor Ortiz would just obliterate Brandon Rios because I thought he was too small. But a lot changes in boxing. It's very fickle, and now it's to the point where I would probably favor Brandon Rios because since then he has moved up in weight. Since then, he showed you that, you know what I mean, he could still take a shot from a guy like a Pacquiao. He could take Diego Chavez's best shots, and I don't even think he's been down. You know what I'm saying? The motherfucker has a chin. And then Victor Ortiz has kind of been on the downslide with just kind of the quitter mentality, giving up, and he switched trainers. So right now it's a good fight. I would say it's pretty close to a 50-50 fight. But for once, I would actually favor Brandon Rios, whereas that wasn't always the case. I thought he was too small because Ortiz was big at 47 or 40 or whatever. And Ortiz, I just thought he was too small. He was fighting guys like Richard Brill in the lower divisions. But now it's a pretty good match, a pretty even match. I would love to see it. All action type fight. And then the outside of the ring, bad blood would make it even more of an event. Next question is from Competitive LSC. Yo, Ego, do you think Gamboa could be successful at 140? No. That's just my honest opinion. I like Gamboa a lot. Very athletic, showed heart in the Terrence Crawford fight, but using the Crawford model, he didn't look good during the stretch of that particular fight. And some fighters, they're amazing in the lower divisions, and as they move up, they just don't look like the same. So I think 140 is a bit too much for his stature and his style, especially off of the Crawford loss. He's no longer undefeated, so who knows what that did to his confidence. Like I said, guys like Vic Darchinyan, Gamboa, they look sensational and good, very good in the lower divisions, and as they move up, they don't necessarily look like the same person. Same thing with Nonito Donaire. Hell of a fighter, moved up just a slight amount, 4 pounds or whatever, and he bit off more than he could chew against Nicholas Walters. So moving up is no joke. A lot of people, they're like, oh, it's just 7 pounds, it's just 4 pounds or whatever, but it takes a toll on his body. And like Nonito Donaire versus Walters, perfect example. Whereas guys at 122 might not have been able to take his shot. Like if he got hit with the left hook, you get in there with a bigger guy who's used to fighting bigger guys, he might be able to, because if you notice, Nicholas Walters got rocked early in the fight, and he weathered that storm. His legs stiffened up and everything. So again, just fighting bigger guys and bigger competition and taking shots from bigger guys, when guys move up, they're not necessarily as powerful. Other dudes deal with their shots better and things like that. So I don't think Gamboa would really be successful at 140. And then aside from that, there's a lot of talent at 140. Danny Garcia is still there, and he's big. A lot of people hate him or whatever, cherry pick. They say crazy shit, so they take away from what he does right and what attributes he really does have. The dude's big. I seen him in a picture next to Floyd Mayweather actually yesterday, and Floyd's a welterweight. He looks bigger than Floyd. So I don't think Gamboa would have success at 140. I mean, he might have some competitive matches with some of the lower end top 10 guys, but overall, I don't think he would be the number one person at 140 or anything like that. Next question is from Manuel Ortiz. Are you going to be rooting against Leo Santa Cruz in his next fight because of all the ducking he's been doing? I can't say I'm going to be rooting against him. I like Leo Santa Cruz. I just don't like his attitude recently versus Rigondeaux in terms of like making the fight. So I guess that question is all going to be dependent on what he chooses next. If he fights a sparring partner, then I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? That's not a fight that I want to see. I want to see him elevated. He's a good fighter. Hopefully these fighters make the right decisions for their career. But how it's been looking, he's not really doing that at the moment. So I can't really say I'll be rooting against him. I don't necessarily want to see fighters have a downfall, but I'm also a realistic person. So if he keeps picking bullshit competition or his handlers and he keeps riding with it, then that's not, I'm not going to be cheering for him. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be rooting against him, but it'll be, I'm not going to be looking forward to his next fights and support some bullshit, if that answers your question. Next question is from Leonard. If you were to pick pound for pound just fighters under 130, who would your top three be pound for pound? Under 130. I would say Rigondeaux would probably be number one. Number two would be Lomachenko. And I would probably say like a Nicholas Walters. I think all three of them guys are great fighters. I would say an honorable mention would be a guy like Mikey Garcia, but you said under 130, and he's been inactive, and I heard he's going to move to 140, so I don't really know if he even fits in that category. So going off of who I know is fighting under 130, I would say those guys. Rigondeaux is just, he's a masterclass boxer. He has power. Some people don't give him credit for that. He has speed. He has thinking ability. Whether you agree with it or not, some people say he has a glass chin, but he recovers pretty well. He got knocked down versus Donaire, then went right back to business, got knocked down twice against the Magasa, got right back to business, and then bludgeoned dude's face up. So he's just a hell of a fighter, very crafty. Lomachenko, same thing. Pretty much everything I said, minus I wouldn't say he's as fast as a guy like Rigondeaux, but he's a hell of a thinker, good boxer, puncher. He showed he battles adversity. When he fought last with the fractured hand, his hand was clearly messed up, and he won a fight one-handed. Andre Ward did that versus Carl Froch. So when people exhibit those types of championship mindsets, I got to really respect it. And then Nicholas Walters, I mean, he beat down Vic Darchinyan worse than really anybody. He just made him look like shit, knocked him out. Same thing with Donaire. Rigondeaux outclassed Donaire and nearly had him going in the 12th round, but he didn't stop him like Walters did. So I think Walters is a hell of a fighter, and he's quickly ranking up there and building his name up. So I would say those are three fighters that I would rate highly pound for pound under 130. Next question, how would you feel about a fight between Broner and Herrera in the future? Great fight. Herrera, he's been on the wrong side of plenty of decisions. In his fight with Danny Garcia, I thought he beat Garcia. In his fight with Jose Benavidez, I thought he beat Benavidez. It was a good fight. But actually, I think the Danny Garcia fight was closer than Benavidez. I thought Herrera really won against Benavidez just because he wasn't active enough and he took a lot of body shots and stuff. But Broner, he still has to prove some stuff to me. He's talented when he lets his hands go, but he doesn't always show you his best work. Like he kind of works in spots. And against a guy like Herrera, like if you watch, Herrera was in against a guy who's 3-4 inches taller last fight versus Benavidez, and he was busy as shit. And from what they say, Benavidez can crack and has good power. And I haven't really been too impressed with Broner's power at 140 or 47. I think his power was more apparent in the lower divisions. So that's a good fight because Broner, basically what Herrera exhibits is what has given Broner problems. Like, if you watch Broner Malignaggi, another close fight, Paulie was busy as shit, and Paulie's not much of a puncher either. And then if you look at Maidana threw probably a career high amount of punches versus Broner when they fought. But the difference is Maidana has that equalizer power, so it made it really apparent. So Herrera, he doesn't have the much power, but he's very crafty and he'll stay busy. So I'd be anxious to see if Broner, how he would deal with someone like that. Not much power, but great skills, great strategy, and a volume guy that's going to stay busy. And a lot of people sleep on this. Herrera got a fucking chin. So even if Broner's power improves at 140 or is great or whatever people say, Herrera has a chin. He's been in there with Ruslan Provodnikov, Danny Garcia. He's been in there with Jose Benavidez and guys like that. Mike Alvarado in his prime. And he never got stopped by any of those guys. Kareem Mayfield never got stopped by any of them. So he has a hell of a chin. That's a good fight. And Herrera, he's just the maestro. So I would like to see that. Next question, last question, is from Bakari. We know that Floyd Mayweather is the king of making adjustments, but my question is, how do you beat someone that can adjust to any style that you put in front of him? It's kind of hard to tell because he hasn't been beat. But if I were to like coach somebody, it's just you would have to have a fighter who can also do that, but maybe do it better or just show better on that particular night. You know what I mean? Like basically, you're going to need a complete fighter. That's how I look at it. You need someone who's complete. You can't just be a brawler only. You can't just be a speedster where you're very fast only. You have to be a complete fighter to beat Floyd Mayweather, in my opinion. So, and you have to have the conditioning. That's a strong one. You have to have conditioning. I think Floyd Mayweather, out of all current fighters, is perhaps one of the few that I would say would do okay in the 15-round era, meaning he could last 15 rounds because his conditioning is that good. People hate Mayweather, but they don't want to give credit for what he deserves credit for. I've never seen him breathing as hard as I've seen other fighters breathe past the 8th round and stuff. You know what I mean? Other fighters be gasping for oxygen as a like sounding like Darth Vader, Luke. You know what I mean? Different things like that. But Mayweather, his cardio and conditioning must be good because he actually most of the time improves mid to late in the fight. You know what I mean? Like if you watch his fight with Canelo, he started really showing off later in the fight. If you watch his fight with Cotto, later in the fight is where he really started to take it away and actually had Cotto in trouble, in my opinion, in the 12th round. So I think you're going to have to do a lot of things right or perfect to beat Floyd Mayweather. Power is a great necessity to have. Stamina, endurance, conditioning, another one. And then 3, you have to have the ability yourself to make adjustments. Like, oh shit, Floyd's onto my plan. This shit is not working anymore. Now what do I do? And you have to be able to think on the fly and make adjustments as you see him making adjustments, and you have to make better adjustments than the adjustments he made, if that makes any sense. So that concludes Ego Monday Mail Day. Have fun with this one. Drop me your comments next week. Let me know what you guys think of these subjects. That's really all I got to say. Make sure you like my video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.